thank you all for coming here, and many thanks to Alpine Shop for giving us the space to use this evening. We put this together Friday night, almost Friday night, and so glad to see all of y'all here and appreciate the speed with which we were able to bring this all together. My name is Charlene Waggoner. I'm president of Greenway Network. And as I alluded to earlier, we've been doing this safety training, special handling training for team leaders, for stream team leaders, for the past about 15 years. And for the last 7 or 8 of them, we've been doing them statewide in conjunction with the Missouri Department of Conservation. Those typically the sessions are a full day, and there's a lot of expert speakers. I'm going to cover a lot of territory on things that my knowledge is superficial, but I need you to be aware of. If you have questions, ask. If you need me to slow down, tell me to slow down. I'll be happy to do that. If you have better information, share it. As I was alluding to earlier, every time we do this, we learn new things. And this last week has been absolutely no exception to that. We've been doing this for 15 years. Over those 15 years, we have gathered the best information from the best trip leaders we can possibly find from all over the state. So, and from professionals and from agency experts and from law enforcement, nurses, you name it, we have brought in all the experts. And so we have pulled together what we think is pretty much the best practice information that's available. However, that being said, these are merely guidelines because I don't know your organizational rules. I don't know the laws that apply to your specific municipality or where you're working, and I don't know your organizational requirements. All of those things take precedence over anything I'm telling you tonight. So that's my giant disclaimer. Our first rule of this whole process here is step one, step away. I'm going to show you a whole bunch of things that are step away things or how to handle them. But if you come across things that you're not sure about, there's a couple seats up here. If you're not sure about it, if it looks hinky, if you are concerned in any way, shape, or form, step away. Don't touch it, don't lick it, don't smell it, don't move it. If you move it, you own it. That's kind of one of the rules, so be very careful. Bill, they need some more back there. So step away and then assess the situation. And what we're going to talk about from here out is the things you assess and what you need to do once you found a situation. I don't need to tell this to anybody in this room, but you're going to work with other volunteers, and I've seen an awful lot of duck face, look at me helping in North City pictures over the last few days, and that is incredibly disrespectful. So I'm just putting this up here so that when you're out there with volunteers, even if you're not the trip leader, you can still take the opportunity to remind people, be respectful. It might look like trash to us, but unlike in a flood where it's come miles and miles and miles down the river and there's no way to connect people back with their trash hardly at all, these are the people who live here. This is their trash. These are their memories. These are their mementos. That might be the last shred of Grandma's china that they can find. And so it's their personal possessions. It's their lives. They're shocked. They're grieving. It's going to be a process for them. So just be very respectful. Also, talk to them about their neighborhood because they're going to have a wealth of information. They might be able to tell you things like, oh, that used to be a dry cleaner over there. That building over there was a welding shop back in the day. That was a small manufacturing facility back when this neighborhood was built, or in the 50s, or that was a gas station. All of that information will give us more information about the kinds of trash that we might find there. If it is a dry cleaning shop and we find barrels there, we know and we know what kinds of things we might be dealing with. So talk to them, be respectful. Do not enter any private property. First rule of stream team, don't trespass, get permission. Permission under these circumstances is going to be a little different. I have heard that in some cases we're going to be able to go all the way up to the front door, front porch, but not into the backyard. In other cases, what you can reach from the sidewalk. Talk to whoever's coordinating the cleanup that you're working on, or come up with the information for the community if you're heading up a cleanup, so that you can say these are the boundaries. If somebody invites you onto their property, that's permission, help them out. They want you to come around to the backyard, that's fine, help them out. But if anybody says, back off, get off my property, politely say, thank you very much, move on. Just be very respectful. Personal safety. We're working under slightly different conditions than we're normally used to as stream teamers. Sturdy boots, long pants, long sleeves. This is not shorts and flip-flops and tennis shoes like some of those duck face pictures I've been seeing. Gloves, masks, eye protection. In fact, the city of St. Louis is issuing masks for certain areas. And we'll talk more about masks as we come along, but be prepared, bring your own gloves, bring your own mask, bring your eye protection. We're working on getting it for you. How that gets distributed, it's not entirely clear. Things are fluid, let's say. Bring enough water for yourself. We're encouraging groups to do 2-hour shifts because it's going to start getting hotter. We're going to start having, and it's tough work. And those of you who've been up there know that it's tough work. It's heartbreaking just being there. So we're really encouraging 2-hour shifts, but bring enough water so you have enough water for the conditions for the amount of time you have to be out there. Use sunscreen, use insect repellent. Use the bathroom before you come. Facilities are still questionable. I was down at the Urban League. I was doing a presentation. 15 minutes in, the power cut out because the generator shut down. That was the only restroom anywhere around, and the building was closed. So use the restroom before you arrive because we don't know what kind of facilities you're going to have. It's very important that you stay in your signed areas. It sounds like the cleanups are going to be proceeding block by block. You'll probably be assigned to a certain street or a certain number of blocks. Stay in that area. Don't wander off. Don't try and go ahead. Just clean that area and move on, move back. Work in pairs. This is something we should always do, but this is especially important now. If you're the team leader, you're the notify person. If you are just a volunteer, figure out who the team leader or the person responsible is. You're going to notify that person of any hazards you find, of any problems you encounter, and if you're going to leave. One of the things that we traditionally do in cleanups is we check everybody in. One of the things we're not so good about is we don't check everybody out at the end. This is, again, a situation where you want to make sure you check everybody in, check everybody out, whether that's you doing the checking in, checking out because you're the team leader, or whether there's a bigger, broader structure. You follow whatever rules are there, but find out what it is so that you know, as a volunteer, this is the person I go tell I'm leaving, or as a team leader, you know that you've got everybody checked out. And look before you reach, grab, step, or sit. Basically, be very cautious out there. There's tripping hazards. There's lots of boards with nails in them. There's animals. There's snakes. There's poison ivy. There's all kinds of stuff out there. Don't just reach into a pile. Be cautious, and don't make yourself a victim. Don't make Perry have to come bail you out. Shelters and structures. Do not enter or tear apart any temporary structures that you see. There are a lot of people living there in part of their house or their backyards under tarps in tents. That's where they're living. Don't enter, don't tear it apart, don't take the stuff that they've got piled up around it. If for some reason you are concerned about the people who are living there, you think their physical safety is at risk, or you think that their mental safety is a problem, mental health is a problem, report that, turn that in. That's probably, again, you could talk to the organizers. If you don't know anybody else, that's probably a non-emergency police phone call. Say, hey, can you do a health check on this unit in this block? I'm worried about them. And Also, do not enter any of these structures. One, they're private property, and two, they're not stable. Bad things could happen. We were watching people climbing around on the second floor in these half fallen down buildings, biting our nails. You know, they're trying to gather their stuff, but it's not safe. And again, as your team leader, you got that squirrely volunteer who wants to, you know, climb or go or do. Just keep track of them so that they don't get into that. Am I going too fast? Okay, good. Hand washing is important. Wash hands with soap and water. For the past 5 years, we've all been trained, don't pick your nose, don't wipe your eyes, don't stick your finger in your ear, don't suck your thumb, and use hand sanitizer. Well, the first 4 are still in play. Don't pick your nose, don't rub your eyes, don't suck your thumb, don't stick your finger in your ear. However, hand sanitizer is the hardest habit to break. Don't use it. Wash or rinse in water before you use hand sanitizer. The reason that's important is if there is any possibility whatsoever that you got in contact with drugs or drug residue.
St. Louis County right now is offering for free Narcan. All you got to do is go in and ask for it.
That's awesome. And if you're a stream teamer and you have the opportunity to do that, that's a thing. If you're normally a trip leader, that's a good thing to put in your kit. So if you've got the opportunity to access it, go ahead and take advantage of it. There are other ways to get it. That's a whole nother presentation and a whole nother, part of that day-long thing we're not going to go into. But if you have any drug residue on your hand and you use hand sanitizer, the alcohol from the hand sanitizer can drive the drugs into your system and cause you to have an overdose. That has happened to law enforcement officers in the state of Missouri. So you do not want to use hand sanitizer if there's any possibility at all that you came in contact with drugs. And more importantly, again, if you're a leader or you're just watching the crowd who's out there volunteering, if you see somebody use hand sanitizer and then they start displaying any of those characteristics, and you can easily look it up, but any odd behaviors shortly after they start using the hand sanitizer, seek medical attention for them and let the first responders know that this is a possibility. That gives them more tools like Narcan, I can never pronounce it right, more tools in their toolkit to respond. And even if that's not the case, it won't hurt them at all to be treated for that. That's one of the beauties of that particular treatment. Okay, when we find things, and again, we're going to get to that list of what the things are, we want to flag things that we don't want to handle. We use standard construction or survey flagging tape. I'm sorry I don't have any for you. We're getting some ordered. We'll figure out how to get it distributed. What you do is, again, keep your distance when you're placing the flagging tape. Don't touch the thing you're flagging. Don't move it. Don't kick it. Don't smell it. Stay back. It's a thing you've already decided you're worried about. Normally, we can hang the flagging tape in a tree over it. We may not have that. A lot of North City doesn't have trees, and the trees that were there are gone. Try a stick. Try some construction waste. Try and tie it to put it under a rock. Something that you can get it close to, but not touching the object that you're trying to flag. What we do ask is that you take a lot of pictures. If there are any markings on it, phone numbers, chemical symbols, warning symbols, take pictures of those things. Take a coordinate on your map or GPS coordinates so that you can tell somebody specifically where it is. And when you do your flagging tape, if you can, it's not absolutely required, but if you're able, write either your organization and their phone number, your company and their phone number, or your stream team number on that flagging tape, and a date. For those of you who've been through this before, we've always put stream team number, throw a date on there too. That because there's so much activity going on and EER is on the ground, having that information will help them clear those reports a little easier. But don't put your personal phone number. We don't need to put that out there for the world to see. And then if it's something, it smells bad, it's hissing, you think it's imminent doom, you're going to call and report it immediately. Otherwise, you're going to follow the procedures by the organization that's setting things up. And they may want to pool everything and call it in at the end of the day. They may want you to call everything in at the end of the day. Just follow those procedures or understand who is going to do the calling in and who you need to report it to. And this brings us to the emergency environmental response. This is a team in the Department of Natural Resources. They're on the ground here in St. Louis. Their phone number is 573-634-2436. Take a minute. If you don't already have that in your phone, put that in your phone as emergency environmental response, or EER. Again, it's 573-634-2436. That number gets you directly to somebody in the emergency environmental response team. But that also connects you, or through them, you can get connected to the EPA, you can get connected to law enforcement, you can get connected to conservation officers. Rather than giving you a whole bunch of numbers to remember, this one is the best one. It's the one we're most likely to be using in this particular cleanup. And so it is a very good one it's the only one I'm going to give you for this. Now what they normally handle, tanks, large propane tanks, the big things that people use to fuel their homes, welding tanks, oxygen tanks for medical oxygen, liquid nitrogen, other gases, and gas grill propane tanks. All of those things are things that we need to approach with caution. Again, because of the magnitude of the damage and the stuff that we're going to be cleaning up, what EER has said is if the valve at the top of the tank is intact, if it's wide open or it's completely closed, if it is if it looks fine, it's not dented, it has phone numbers on it, those things you can move, they need to go to a holding area. Again, what that holding area looks like at this point in time is going to depend, again, on where you're working, who's in charge, how that's going to work. One of the things I'm trying to make happen, but I'm not making inroads on it, is to get some of the folks who can deal with this stuff manning a central location to put these things. But right now, none of that has been resolved to my knowledge, so just ask the questions if you find the stuff.
So you said three things: valve open, valve closed, and what was the third one?
No valve at all, completely open. It's intact, but if it's, however, dented, the valve looks damaged, you're not sure, you can't tell, you smell something, or it's hissing, flag it. If it's hissing, call it in. Same thing with propane tanks.
Charlene,
Yes.
City of St. Louis has a pretty well-trained emergency response in their fire department.
Yeah.
For chemical emergency response. Is there a reason we're not using them in this instance?
No. I mean,
that's 911 and they're at your door type of thing, but.
that's perfect. Like I said, if it's something like that, if it's something you're really worried about, 911 is an appropriate number. If it looks like imminent doom to you, 911 is your friend. If it's something longer term, then we can call EER, because lots of times it kind of depends on jurisdictions, and this is part of that. I don't know the rules for everything. I talked to the fire department about lithium batteries, but I didn't talk to them about chemical response. So we're learning, and that's why there's a date on this, and it'll look different when you see it on Thursday instead of when you see it today. Barrels, plastic, big blue plastic 55-gallon drums, metal ones, intact or rusty. Those are things you want to be aware of. If you can see the tree growing out of it, clean it up. Probably not going to see a lot of that. But if you're at all concerned, again, flag it. Take the pictures. Especially get the pictures of any information that might be on it. And Bernie and Bill and Kathy soon, some of you folks can tell horror stories. We're not going to do that. Same thing with chemicals. If you see, chemicals in glass jars, labeled, unlabeled buckets, anything that you're not sure about that's sealed up or has liquid in it that you're concerned about. Those are other things to flag and call in. Also, if you see soda bottles with funny colored liquids or a soda bottle that's expanded a lot, do not touch it. Let it lay. Call that one in because those things might be explosive. The other thing that hopefully we won't see because the power companies have been out there going block by block by block by block is the transformers, this big metal thing there. Those are also full of all kinds of really precious chemicals that we don't want to mess with, so you leave those lay, flag them, call them in. Anticipate finding household chemicals out there. Bleach and ammonia, there's lots of ways that bleach can mix with other things and it can kill you. So don't mess with, if you see a bunch of broken bottles and you're not sure about them, you can walk away from that. Flag it. If you do see intact bottles, you want to separate the bleach from the ammonia. Those things all eventually need to go to the household hazardous waste transfer station. Again, this is one of those black boxes, how it gets there. Hopefully there'll be a holding area where they stage the trash, and that will get taken care of. So just be very careful with those household chemicals. Asbestos and lead paint, yes, it's out there. Most of these, there's a house probably in every block that's over 50 years old, and most of them are 100 years old. These things can particulate, what's the word I'm looking for? Particulate. They're in the air sometimes. In Jeff City, they were talking about the fiberglass in Jeff City. You could see it twinkling in the air as the stuff was floating around. I know that there are blocks in St. Louis where the city is handing out masks. Realistically, if you truly want to protect yourself from these things, you need a properly fitted N95. If you don't have that, all of the other mask solutions that we've come to know and love are better than nothing. So they are likely to be present. Protect yourself with a face mask.
I have a question.
Yes?
So I know that sometimes people take like meal breaks and stuff. During those moments, are we supposed to go to another area to take meal breaks? Or?
I think that's kind of dependent on your level of comfort and your ability to wash your hands before you start grabbing your food.
Gotcha.
What I was going to mention about washing your hands, and I forgot, because there's a lot I'm trying to remember here. If you're a team leader, or even if you're going out by yourself, if you just take a gallon jug with water in it, maybe put a couple drops of soap in it, you can use that to rinse your hands before you use hand sanitizer. You can use the 5-gallon, we typically will use those 5-gallon orange or blue water containers, fill those with water. If you're the amazing people from Beyond Housing and it's March and it's cold, they put warm water in it and make your day a whole lot better. Have a bar of soap next to it, have a bottle of soap next to it, have a washing station. Hand washing stations if you can get them, but like I said earlier, if you don't have any of those things, rinse your hands off in a stream, a ditch, a puddle, and then use the hand sanitizer because it's more important. Your first priority is to get the drug residue off your hand. Then your next priority is to deal with whatever else might be in the water because the drug is immediate. Okay, other questions? Like I said, I'm rocketing through this. Okay, sharps. There's a lot of things out there that want to rip you open. Needles, broken glass, jagged metal, nails, screws, nails and boards. You name it, it's out there. The edge of a broken tin, a ripped off tin can, the edge of a refrigerator. Under the normal course of events, we have a legal requirement to do due diligence to protect trash haulers and other people who might be handling that trash from getting cut by that. So if you're going to pile it up on a curb or you're going to put it in a bag, you want to make sure that it's taken care of as best you can to keep the person who's got to load the bag into the dumpster or onto the truck from getting cut by it as well. Mm-hmm. You typically want to use double gloves for around these things. We usually use nitrile gloves underneath the leather work gloves. That just gives you an extra layer of protection all in general all the way around. Sometimes if you're handling really hazardous stuff, do double nitrile gloves. Sometimes we use 2 different colors so that you know if the first layer rips.
So I'm a little bit confused. Let's say you're cleaning up a huge window pane. It's definitely got a sharp edge on it. How do you, or where do you put that, and how do you put that so that a sanitation worker won't hurt themselves?
One, you're not going to conceal it in a garbage bag.
Okay.
You're gonna, if it's too big to go in a garbage bag, you're gonna put it next to the other big trash.
Yep.
It's also, this is a tough one, it's also likely to break as soon as you set it there. So it might not be a bad idea to let it break and put the piece and collect the pieces, and that's, handle with shovels. There could be a lot of broken glass. Again, we're trying to get enough scoop shovels and things in the area. Working on that, and again, how we distribute that, that's part of why you're giving me your email on that roster. I will let you know as soon as we have the stuff in hand. I know we've got the grabbers in hand, but we don't have the rest yet. Handle with shovels, brooms, push brooms. If you've got shovels, push brooms, rakes, and those sorts of things, bring them with you. If you have extra ones that you don't mind donating and they end up on the truck when you leave, that'd be awesome. Feel free to donate them that way. Triple wall garbage bags or construction garbage bags will hold most of the broken glass, most of the sharp stuff. We're working again on getting a supply of those. If you're able, you've got the resources, you can grab a box of those and put them in your kit. That'd be great. Because again, we're trying to get them, but I don't know how they're going to get distributed yet. You can use buckets for things like broken glass. You can use the green mesh trash bags as a last resort because the green mesh bags won't get cut. If you use the big blue Stream Team bags, they will just rip.
Also, the red bags would be fantastic. It would be, if you've got somebody who's not looking to be carrying 1.5 tons of weight, those red bags are ideal.
Right now, I think we put in orders for just green bags, just because, so we can get as much stuff in as few bags as possible. Those of you who aren't familiar, the Stream Team provides to people, Stream Teams who are doing cleanups, mesh bags that look like onion or potato bags. They use those because usually we're working along streams and it's wet and that'll drain out and it reduces the weight, but they're also really good for these sharp things. Other questions?
Would you like me to bring in some?
If you have one to show, it'd be great. Has anybody not seen one before Steve goes running out? Yeah, go ahead. Thank you, Steve. Normally I have show and tell, but we're flying quick here. Okay, now the normal thing we think of for sharps are needles. The picture here is a legitimate sharps container. We normally have these little vials that hold 1 or 2 needles. Don't have any of those for you tonight. Next time I do this, hopefully I'll have more stuff more goodies to hand out so you've got it. That's the best option. But if you don't have those and you find needles, and even if you find them in significant quantity under these circumstances, odds are pretty good that even if you call it in, they're just going to tell you clean it up. So clean it up. If you're team leader, you really don't want the volunteers doing that if you can avoid it. Just do it yourself carefully because you're going to do it carefully. The best make-do option is a detergent bottle, laundry detergent bottle, because it's got very thick walls, it's got a wide mouth, it's got a screw cap that will go onto it. You want to fill it about half full. You do not want to be jamming needles into a thing full of needles and get yourself stuck. If you have questions about what happens if you get stuck, we can talk about that at the end, but that's a whole nother section of the day-long thing that I'm not covering. If you don't have a laundry bottle, soda bottle, pop can, cardboard, poke it into cardboard, poke it into a stick, any other trash you can find to create a barrier. The thing that's kind of funky about sharps, about needles, is we go, oh, this is medical waste. Medical waste has to be handled carefully and differently, and it's going to go to an incinerator. So you'll make the mistake I made. One of my rookie mistakes is I put the big gallon jar of sharps in front of the dumpster. Set them there so that everybody would know they were medical waste and they could go, get disposed of properly. Absolutely the wrong thing to do. That's an attractive nuisance. As soon as you've got a bunch of needles laying around, there are people who look at it as a free needle exchange program and they take them. These things go in the dumpster. Ideally, put them in the bag, put them in the dumpster. Tires, appliances, treated wood, bricks. Yes.
Did
Yeah.
you say that only the team leaders are supposed to do it?
Ideally, but you're going to have, one of the things when you meet your crew, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, but when you meet your crew, you're going to assess who's there, and you'll kind of get a sense right away of, yeah, she can handle that, so, let's have her pick those up. And because you're going to assess your human capital that you've got out there and put them in the best jobs you can put them in. But we'll come back to that a little bit later. In a perfect world, yeah, team leader does it, and we know it's fine. In a keep going world, we just move through. Tires, appliances, treated wood, bricks. None of these things are supposed to go in the landfill. St. Louis has specifically requested that bricks be piled separately. They're trying to salvage as much of those as they can. Apparently other people are trying to salvage as many of those as they can as well. It's kind of unfortunate. I'm confident that what's happening right now, what's been happening over the last week, is they put in the equipment operators have come in with the bobcats and they're taking everything out of the street and they're putting it in the trucks. And the trucks are going up to one of the holding yards and dumping it. And there's not going to be any segregation of anything. Yeah, let's show these.
Yeah, because when you're talking treated wood, that could be someone's porch or deck or whatever, or handrail that just got blown apart, and now so do you want us to keep it separate, or?
It depends on the block and who's in charge of it and who's, whoever's coordinating the cleanup.
Why do they say that?
What?
Why do they not accept treated wood?
Because it's got toxic chemicals on it and it goes to a separate place in a landfill and gets taken care of. All these things have reasons. Any of these rules, disposal rules that the state of Missouri can waive, it's my understanding, have been waived. So if the state of Missouri says you can't put, X, Y, or Z in the landfill, they have through governor's orders and the agencies, they've just said, scoop it up, get it out of there, because that's what we got to do. I mean, this is immediate. We got to get these streets clear. There's not enough time, not time to deal with that. However, there are federal laws that can't be waived until we get special conditions, and I don't know the status of that. I know that a lot of people have been pushing to try and do that. I personally, sent messages to my elected officials saying, hey, get this done so we can take care of this stuff. Not because I want all these things to go in the trash, or into the landfill, but because people's lives are hanging and the stuff is dangerous and we got to get it out of there. So in a perfect world, we have a dumpster and we would have a spot labeled, if we've got appliances, they're going to go in one spot when you come up. We'll have a dumpster for tires. People like Kent and Bernie will cut those up, and if they are cut into thirds, they can go in the trash. Otherwise, they have to go to the recycling. Recycling is $4 or $5 for a regular tire, and don't make me cry when we're talking about the ones this tall.
So just to clarify, we are separating those.
It depends on the site you're working. And I'm really sorry I can't give you a better answer.
That's okay.
I think right now with the speed that things are going on, a lot of the answer when you sign up to volunteer is going to be throw it in the dumpster. And maybe in the semi-perfect world, they'll be sorting it up at the holding yards, but there's acres and acres where they're dumping this stuff. It's not going into dumpsters, and I don't know how that's happening. I'm just telling you, this is stuff to pay attention to or to ask questions about. And I'm really sorry I don't have better answers for some of these things. Fiberglass. I know there's fiberglass up there. I've seen it in the chain link fences. Fiberglass is nasty. This is old fiberglass. This is not new fiberglass. You want an N95 mask properly fitted. You want to use gloves and you want to have eye protection. You want your wrists tucked. You want your pants tucked. You want your shirt buttoned up. You don't want to get into this stuff. It's the dust that's the problem. You don't want to breathe the dust and you don't want to handle it roughly so you're making more dust. One of the things that I have learned is if you can work with it wet, you don't generate as much dust. So it might be a good idea to try, and this is something that is coming from me. Take a squirt bottle with water. If you're going to pick it out of a fence, get it a little bit damp before you try and do that. But there's going to be a lot of that going on. This guy, I stole his picture. He's doing this guy. He's doing absolutely everything wrong. No long sleeves, no mask, barely any gloves, whole thing. So don't be Reid Hoffman, okay? Or whoever Reid Hoffman knows.
Whoever he was photographing.
Just saying. Whenever we're out there, there's always a possibility. We find them under bridges, in streams. We find weapons, knives, guns, that sort of thing. Those are a law enforcement call. We don't know the status of that weapon. We don't know whether it's loaded. We don't know anything about it. You call law enforcement and you stay there until law enforcement shows up, unless they tell you it's okay to leave. You might have a back and forth about what does it look like, where is it located, that kind of thing, and they'll say, okay, go away, we're coming. But you want to stay there with it. Don't touch it. Same thing applies. Just leave it there. Call law enforcement. In the normal course of events, if you find large caches of things that look like drugs, you find things that look like drug labs, illicit drug labs, pot plants, things like that. What law enforcement officers have told us is if your spidey senses go up, you just walk away. Don't flag it. Don't obviously take pictures of it. Somebody could be protecting it. You walk away and then call it in later. You want to be safe about that. You don't want to get involved in that. I think that if we find stuff like that, it's probably stuff that's blown over and abandoned, and they'll probably tell you to clean it up. But if you're concerned at all, that's another law enforcement call. Pets. We have found pets. There's a really cute puppy that was found in North County. That it was really good it got adopted, or it'd be mine. I've only given you the City of St. Louis animal control numbers here. They have two different numbers. If it's an animal that's injured or non-responsive, they've got a couple of different numbers. If it's alive, then you give them a different number. You can use any animal rescue facility you've got. You've got your friends with 100 Acre Woods or whatever. See if they'll come get it. It's not required that you call this. I'm just giving you an example of that. And we've also found dead pets and dead animals. This is one where if you're out there with volunteers, it will upset them a lot. We're hopefully not going to see any volunteers under the age of 16, at least, preferably 18 in this cleanup. We certainly don't want the strollers and toddlers on this cleanup. And be conscious of that when you're putting out your calls for volunteers. Say, this is what we would categorize as a B or a C, just because of the nature and kind of trash we're going to be finding. But we can find dead animals. It will upset your volunteers. And it could be the 50-year-old. It doesn't have to be the 5-year-old. And so this is the one. This is a tough one. What you want to do is tell your volunteer, we will take care of this animal respectfully. It will be, we will treat it respectfully. They'll want to have a funeral for it. They'll want to bury it on the spot. You just say, no, procedures are in place. We will handle it respectfully. Once the volunteer is gone and not visible anymore, you will respectfully glove up, mask up, get your bag, get your shovel, put it in a bag respectfully, and you will respectfully put it in the dumpster. That's just the way it's going to be handled. We're not likely to find fish kills poaching, any large animal kills. If you happen to see a whole bunch of dead animals, you call it in, but you got one pet or, a litter of kittens or whatever happens, that's how you treat it. They go in the dumpster. That's the official protocol. Batteries. Batteries that are contained, already, self-contained. They're in a flashlight, they're in a toy, they're in a computer, they're in a remote. They're probably in a container that, this is relatively stable for the battery. If I go mucking about with it, I can cause more problems if I'm trying to pull the battery out. So I take this intact and I put it, if it exists, in that special disposal pile for electronics. If it doesn't exist, I do whatever I'm told to do with it. But I want you to be super, super, super careful with batteries. Loose batteries. Any loose batteries need to have to cover both terminals, both of them up there, top and bottom here, all the way around on this one. Cover it with tape. We're trying to get electrical tape, that's the best. This is packing tape, that's fine. Anything you can do that's going to stick, cover the batteries, the terminals with tape. That will help reduce the possibility of those batteries interacting with each other, generating sparks, causing bad things to happen. And lithium batteries and lithium-ion batteries like this last one are bad. They cause fires. They're fussy. They set themselves on fire if it gets too warm. They set themselves on fire if there are too many of them close together. They set themselves on fire if they get wet. They're bad. We don't want them in the trash. Just got a brochure or a bulletin from the Missouri Department of Transportation where they had a whole bunch of trucks that went on fire because they all had lithium batteries in them. And once you have a lithium battery fire, you probably are well aware of it. It's a problem. You can't put it out. It sprays, in addition to fire and other things, from whatever's burning around it. You get lithium gas. That's bad. You don't want any of that stuff to happen. This was a long conversation, but eventually the ruling that came down is that when you find lithium batteries, and if you're going to be a team leader, you want to start carrying either 1 gallon covered bucket or a 5 gallon covered bucket with some sand in it. Lithium batteries go in the bucket with the sand. And then as soon as possible to the household hazardous waste, or to a number of the battery companies will take them back or dispose of them properly. Kind of depends, but like I said, there's a household hazardous waste transfer station just north of St. Louis County. They can go there. And
Do you still put the tape over it?
absolutely, absolutely. Tape, and keep it as dry as possible. That's why I suggest the lid, because even if it's in the sand and it gets wet, they could all get together and have a party that we don't want to attend. If you see large lithium batteries, an electric bike, or as my husband puts it, a Tesla in a tree, call it in. We're not messing with those things. They're big, they're scary. They're prepared to handle it, and the fire department, St. Louis Fire Department, EER is prepared to handle it as well. Flag those, walk away from them. Smoke detectors, 5,000 buildings damaged. That's what, 10,000 smoke detectors somewhere out there possibly. Remove and tape the batteries. 1, they have batteries. 2, they have radioactive material. They have americium in them. It's not a good one. There's trace amounts, but you don't want a whole bunch of those getting together and having a party. It is legal in the state of Missouri to dispose of up to 10 in like 1 dumpster. If you have more than that, then they need to be treated carefully, taken to household hazardous waste. In a perfect world, when you buy a new one, you send it back to the company that manufactured it. They're supposed to take them. That doesn't necessarily happen in this circumstance.
So I'm confused, why in this instance would you take the battery out and tape it? Because I thought you just said, like, it's part of the flashlight, you just...
Because you really don't want the batteries and the rest of the smoke detector together. You just want it, if you can take it out, it's better to take it out.
Okay.
And put that in the battery pile and put the smoke detector in the bad thing pile. If we have one.
If you take the batteries out, is it still up to 10?
It's still up to 10.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not the batteries that make it up
So
to
there's
10.
still
It's
stuff in the-
it's the amyris, it's the radioactive material that's the up to 10 part of it. And then vape pens. Vape pens are really bad. They have batteries in them. It's a battery from one. It's a lithium battery. I don't even know where you tape it. Just wrap the whole thing in tape. Don't worry about it. And then they have cartridges, and those cartridges contain nicotine, and nicotine is considered a toxic chemical. And nicotine in that form cannot go into the landfill. So if you're still using a vape, this might be a good wake-up call to say, wait a minute, if I can't put this in the trash because it's a toxic chemical, I probably don't want to breathe it. Okay, I'm done with that soapbox. If it's intact, they need to go to the household hazardous waste. Again, maybe there will be a place to take care of it, sorting possibility. I don't know, it depends. Maybe if you've got a few and you're going by there on your way home, you can dispose of them yourself. If it's leaking, you want to put it in a sealed bag, a Ziploc bag or something. So another thing to add to your team leader backpack or to your kit is some small Ziploc bags, just have handy, so that it doesn't leak into things. You don't want that around. And then those can go to household hazardous waste and be disposed of that way. While you're out there, you may also see what I'm loosely calling water issues. You may see a ditch with oil slicks or algae. You may see evidence that raw sewage has been there. Toilet paper and other things that could get flushed, wet or dry. Those are areas you're going to walk away from. You're not going to clean them up. You're going to call them in. You're going to call them into the DNR. And I don't know if you need to find your regional office of the DNR. And you can just Google that, just Missouri Department of Natural Resources Regional Office, St. Louis, and you'll get that contact. I'm sorry I don't have that on here for you. And then you may also more likely to find things like storm drains that are clogged, sewer lines that have problems, broken sewer lines or broken manhole covers, or septic systems that are damaged. Those things all come under the local sewer district. Almost everything, as I understand it, in the area we're talking about is going to be the metropolitan sewer district, and those things get called into the metropolitan sewer district, and they need to come out and take care of them.
They are also responsible for the stormwater in the whole area where the tornadoes came. So they're as good of a number to call as the DNR.
Yep. And you may see holding tanks or stormwater retention facilities that are messed up. Those are another thing you can call in. Again, short course here. I don't have pretty slides of rainbow colored algae and oil slicks, but
Are they already out assessing too, though?
everybody's out assessing. It's just your extra eyes. Black mold. It's been raining. These are old buildings. Black mold will grow anywhere where there's cellulose kinds of things. Wood, fabric, cotton fabric in particular, drywall, carpets and rugs. Black mold is really bad if you're allergic to it, and cumulatively bad if you're not allergic to it. We are going to be in open spaces. We're not going into buildings, so we're not going to be pulling black mold containing things out, but that pile that you're lifting up into the dumpster because it's on the curb could be full of it. So you want, if there's a possibility, you want to use masks. If you're going to clean up, you're going to use bleach. And oftentimes the source of it is not obvious. So you just got to be careful. There's lots of rules here. The symptoms for black mold: sneezing, black mold exposure, sneezing, coughing, red eyes, runny nose, nasal congestion, and then wheezing, shortness of breath, dry cough. Oh, it sounds like allergy season, huh? But be aware of it, extra aware of it. That's just one of those things, another mask up situation. Traffic. You could be out on streets that are busy cleaning up. This is a cleanup we did on Hall Street. City of St. Louis has been phenomenal in providing us in our normal conditions with an aero truck that runs behind our volunteers. The volunteers in the middle are all wearing safety vests, and there's a dump truck in the front. And it just rolls down, and the volunteers stay between the trucks. You have an extra layer of protection. If you can't get trucks, but you've got maybe your pickup truck or your car with your flashers on, you can do the same thing to try and protect those, just that extra layer of protection for volunteers who are out on a busy street. The rest of this kind of comes under what I call due diligence. Again, I'm going to rocket through this. In your packet, there is a safety talk. It's this page here, looks like this. There are some lighter, I don't know, are they green in yours? Cool. The green ones are questions you need to answer that you get from your coordinator, whoever's running the cleanup, or you answer before you send people out if you're running the cleanup. This came from a Missouri, it's been adapted from a Missouri River Relief Safety Talk. Greenway Network has adapted it for non-big river cleanups. And I spent some time going through it to do it specifically for this tornado. I took out the, if you're drowning and steep banks and those sorts of things, so we can keep it focused. What you need to do is every volunteer before they go out needs to have a safety talk. Again, this depends on where you're volunteering, who's coordinating it, but if you're in charge, you want to make sure you have a safety talk, and if there are any special conditions on the blocks you're assigned to, you want to make sure you include that. I have not included what we call the back of the map talk as well, but if there's a big safety talk before everybody disperses and you get out there with your team, you want to just hit the highlights. Tell me if you see these things. Don't pick up this. Here's the water. Here's where we put the trash. I'm the person that you check out with, whatever it is that you need them to know. That's important for them. It's important for you. It's part of that, like I said, due diligence. Keep your volunteers safe. Every person who goes out to volunteer should sign a waiver, and that waiver should have an emergency contact information on it. Depends, this is one of those, it depends on your organization, it depends on your rules and regulations. If you have a waiver and it doesn't have emergency contact information, I strongly recommend that you take that back to your organization and say, hey, fix this, we got to have it. The waivers are for the lawyers, the contact information is for us as team leaders. What we want to be able to do is if Bob's out there and Bob has a problem, we want to be able to find Bob's wife and phone number right away. There are many, many ways to organize this. It's just the thing you need to understand. In some cases, you will take the packet of waivers with you and you will have it with you. If that's the case, you turn it in when you're done so it can be stored properly. In some cases, there will be a person amongst all these teams going out that has that information, or there might be a phone number you can call if you need that information, or you need somebody to reach out to that information. Just understand what the process is, know where you're going to find emergency contact information for the person who's having a problem. And again, just remember those things have to get stored, depends on the organization and what rules they're following, but those things have to get stored. So if you've got a stack of waivers, don't pitch them. Hand them up the chain till they get to wherever they need to be stored properly. Okay, what I'm going to talk about now is if something bad happens. This is a decision tree. This is something that I developed a long time ago when I was working with teaching assistants in undergraduate laboratories. It's been through institutional lawyers. It's been through a number of different lawyers elsewhere. But again, let me remind you, this is a guideline. Please take this back to your organization. Have your lawyers go through it, have your organization go through it, make sure you're cool with it. This is just what has worked for us as a general rule. If you're out there and it's smaller than a Band-Aid, you can crack open your first aid kit, which hopefully you have. If you don't and you're going out there routinely, you want to have a decent one. As soon as you crack open your first aid kit, you're going to document whatever happened. Even if it's, Susie has a hangnail, Sally has a headache. You gave Susie a Band-Aid, you gave Sally an aspirin. You document that, one, so you have an institutional record of what happened and you're protecting yourself as to what you did, what actions you took. And two, so you know what to put back in your first aid kit when you get back home so you have the Band-Aid you need next time. And this is the silliest one, and everybody looks at me like you're out of your tiny little mind. And when you say it to them, to Susie with a hangnail, she'll look at you like you're out of your tiny little mind. That's okay. Anytime you crack open your first aid kit, you say, follow up with a physician. Because we don't know, Susie could have been digging in the dirt with that hangnail after she got her Band-Aid from you, and now she's got tetanus from the dirt. Sally had a headache because something else was going on. You tell them, follow up with your doctor. It's a layer of protection, one, for them to let them know, hey, this is serious, don't mess around if something changes and it's not just a hangnail. And two, it protects you. When you write your notes, I told her to follow up with the physician. So it's legal, part of your legal protection. If it is bigger than a Band-Aid, if they are conscious, if they are alert, if they are able, if you judge them able to make a rational decision, ask them if they want an ambulance. Because as soon as you call 911, there's a whole bunch of dollars, the cash register starts ticking up, and they're liable for it. Might be your organization that's liable for it. And if it's just Billy with a broken arm and his mom's going to drive him to the urgent care, no problem. You've offered them, hey, we're getting in the car, we're going. They're getting in the car, they're going, no problem. If there's any question, if they're unconscious, if they're disoriented, if for some reason you feel like they cannot make a reasonable judgment, then dial 911 now. Don't hesitate, just do it. First thing you're going to do is isolate the problem as best you can. You're going to designate someone to organize the other volunteers. Or maybe, you've got somebody who's a physician, you're going to designate them to take care of the person who's got the problem. That's part of what you do when you're doing that safety talk. Remember I mentioned earlier, you're going to sort of assess your volunteers when you're out there with them. You just kind of put in your mental Rolodex, hey, that person looks like they could lift really heavy things if we need to lift heavy things. That person looks like she's really good at organizing the people. This person looks like they're going to be calm. Likewise, that person looks like they're going to lose it. And so you just kind of want to have that in your head going into it so that when something happens, you're prepared and say, hey, you, lift these heavy things. Hey, you get these volunteers over there. You move the trash here. And then isolate the problem and take care of it. Provide on-site assistance at the level you are personally comfortable and trained. Perry can get you trained to any level you want to be trained to. Strongly recommend, if you're going to be out there a lot, that you do get some kind of basic first aid training. So offer that assistance to your level of comfort. If you're not comfortable, then you do the minimal. If you're comfortable, you go ahead and go full bore. See this official hat I'm wearing? I know it looks like a pair of glasses, but it's a big official hat and big logo and everything on it. Do not transport individuals in your personal vehicle. Do not put someone in your car and drive them around for any reason. See this big official hat? Okay, now you're not seeing it anymore. This is Charlene talking, and this is just Charlene, and don't let the lawyers know I'm telling you this. There could be a circumstance where you're too far away from help, where it's too urgent, where you got to get that person in the car and start and go. You need to get them out of there for some reason. That's a judgment call you make. Big official hat back on here. Do not transport people in your private car. Clear distinction there. Nobody's gonna, you know what Charlene says versus what the big official hat says. As soon as things calm down, or as soon as you're possibly able, you need to report to your team leader, to your event coordinator, up the chain. And that's one of those things on your safety talk, who do we report to? You want to know that ahead of time. And no, this is not the time, Bernie and Steve, to start saying, call Charlene, because Charlene does not get called for every problem in the state of Missouri. That's just an example. When I'm coordinating multiple sites, I'm the one whose phone number is on there, and you call me, or whoever the coordinator is, and you tell them what happened. Because they're the person that's going to have to deal with the aftermath. They're the person who's going to immediately deal with the press. They're the person that's going to have to resolve things. They're the person who knows the proper protocol. So make sure you know who it is. If you're the person who is that person, Make sure you know the protocol. Oops. Strongly recommend that you keep in your kit a little notepad, and you want to make notes as soon as you can. Things calm down, everything's good, you can take a minute to take a deep breath, take some notes. Who was it? What happened? How did it happen? Who saw it? Who else was there? And what happened on site? What were your on-site responses? This is not an essay. This is not flowing prose. This is not poetry. This is, Bob fell off a log. Looks like he broke his arm. Gave him sent him off to the hospital with his wife in her car. Simple, straightforward sentences. You are going to sign it or initial it and put a date on it. You're going to hand it to somebody else, hopefully somebody to whom you're not related. They're going to read it, they're going to sign it, they're going to initial it, they're going to date it. That's your contemporaneous evidence for what happened and what you did. So as soon as you're out of the situation, write it down as quickly as you can, sign it, document it, get somebody else to look at it. This is your personal protection, liability protection. Save those notes. Make copy, at the very least, save a copy of your notes. If you have to turn in your handwritten copy up the chain, that's what you do, but make sure you have a copy of it yourself. Make sure that you send copies up the chain so that whoever's in charge has that. That goes into the folder. If something bad ever happens, then you've got that evidence that this is what I did, this is how I behaved, and you're not trying to remember it or not trying to have all sorts of other different stories come into play.
So you have on there that the witness signs and dates. I'm assuming you want us to sign and date.
Yes, I want you to sign and date, and the witnesses aren't necessarily the volunteers on site, or this is you get home that evening or you get to the bar that evening, you've got it. You see Bernie sitting at the stool next to you, you hand it to Bernie, you say, Bernie, this happened, could you read this over? Bernie reads it over, he signs his name, he dates it. That's a contemporaneous witness that says, this happened, these are the notes that were recorded on that date, not me trying to reconstruct it a year from now or 6 months from now. It's just one of those due diligence self-protection things. Hate to have to bring those things up, but sometimes they might come into play. And then as part of that, if something bad happens, I don't know about you, but every time I've been up there, there've been a whole bunch of people with cameras running around. I don't know if they're reporters or not, but the possibility of a reporter being over your shoulder when something bad happens happens. And you do not want to talk to the media under any circumstances after something bad happens, because that becomes part of the public record. Whatever you say becomes part of the public record, and you may not be thinking clearly because you've just been through a pretty traumatic experience where you had to get Bob with his bone hanging out of his arm to the hospital. And that's, you don't want to go, yeah, Bob had bone hanging out of his arm, and have that on the nightly news, because one, that's not very nice to Bob, and two, that's, oh, well, look at this cavalier attitude that she said Bob had the bone hanging out of her. You don't want that. In order to avoid talking to the media, think about it now. Have a few catchphrases. Can't talk to you right now. Our media person is Ralph. Talk to Ralph. Can't talk to you right now. I have to get my volunteers checked off and back to home base. Can't talk to you right now. I have to make sure that this trash is moved into the appropriate site. Just think about that ahead of time, so that when the reporter's over your shoulder and you're looking for the paddler that's not on, that we can't find, that didn't come off the river, you're not sitting there going, don't ask me how I know that. And no, the paddler didn't get on the river, but the reporter was over my shoulder, very excited for the 5 minutes it took for us to resolve that. So you want to have those phrases handy. Now, if it's something good, you're out there and you have got a great team of volunteers and you're doing stuff and you want to say, hey, the Urban League is doing a fantastic job cleaning up this area, isn't this great? Fine, go ahead, say whatever you want. It's just in this instance where something bad happens, you want to be careful. This one I'm just going to put up here just to highlight the new things for the people who've been team leaders, because this is new stuff that we haven't put in our kits before. We haven't put electrical or other tape, and we haven't put buckets with sands in our kits in the past. If you want this, I can send this out or take a picture. That's fine. Just basic stuff you want to have with you. You don't want your, fancy whatever. You want this basic stuff. So, first and foremost, new things: respect people and property, flag report, document, and do not use hand sanitizer before you wash your hands. Thank you. Here's my contact information. Do I have it right, Sarah? Is this,
Well, that's a whole other Gmail, but sure.
If you want to get a hold of me, there was a sign-up sheet floating around, as I said earlier, for those of you who came in late. Give me your phone number if you're willing to volunteer as a team leader. If you're willing to let me share your contact information with some other organization looking for team leaders, check the box in the X. If you didn't know that when you filled out your phone number and you don't want to be a team leader, grab that back and cross it out. There's no shame or embarrassment. I understand that not everybody wants to be a team leader.
Where is the list?
I don't know where, the clipboard, just check that at the end. Questions, comments? Bernie.
Back in 2015, when they had the flood there, they were pushing everybody to get a tetanus shot. Are they still a recommendation? Or, I mean,
Standard procedure: get a tetanus shot, get a Hep B, make sure your vaccinations are up to order, because if you're so inclined. Another question.
Do you deal a lot with like homeowners wanting to help while you're cleaning, and how do you handle that?
They
let
do.
them? Do you say, hey?
We always let them if it's if it's an area where we know it's just a lot of plastic bottles and stuff. Fantastic. They're not technically part of our organization or our cleanup. If you get a chance to say, hey, watch out for these couple of things, or if you see this, let me know. I can help you with it. That's great. We're not doing t-shirts for this, but if you are in a cleanup where you're doing t-shirts and you can get them one, that's even better. We encourage homeowners to come out whenever we can and whenever it's safe.
Yeah, probably just not kids.
This one, we don't want kids. The other thing I forgot to mention, the thing on the very back, is something I threw together. I may update it again. If you're putting out a call for volunteers for this kind of work, here's some language you can use to let them know, give them a heads up. If you want the kids to come out on some other cleanup where it's a walk in the park, I got comic books for that. But no, this is for this hardcore to help give you a basis to start. Again, pass it through your organization, but there's some information that we're trying to get out there.
If I'm not officially affiliated with the organization, or we want to put a call out to people to come and help, what's the best source for them to go to?
Don't go rogue.
Yeah, no, exactly, but how to go about organizing.
There's a lot of calls. We're trying to put as many as we can on the Greenway Network Facebook page. I have not got it on the website. Well, Sarah, we can talk about maybe how to get more of that on the website, more of those links. City of St. Louis has calls. United Way has calls. The O'Fallon YMCA is doing a phenomenal job up there. Find a group to work with, but don't go rogue, because we don't know what's been cleared and what hasn't. And
how many people are typically on a team?
we're planning for teams of 20. And that would be, 2 people who would be doing flagging. Richard, do you remember the distribution?
Roughly 6 of the 20 people, they always organized into 10 teams of 2 people, and about 3 or 4 teams are going to be picking up stuff. A couple of teams will be moving things from where they are to the dumpster. A couple of teams will be worried about flagging stuff, and a couple of teams will be worried about sharps or special handling things. And so there'll be a little bit of specialization depending on people's skills and knowledge. But yeah, a group of 20 people, and then some subdivision, and then a team leader to keep track of the whole thing.
Other questions? Perry?
Can I say a couple things?
Absolutely.
One, how many of you have been to the doctor and the doctor asked you if you're current on tetanus and you lied? I know some of you did. Please consider getting, I know Brendan just addressed that, but please consider that. I've worked with a few disasters, and I've been working with this one since it started. Here's just a couple things that I've seen at this event. A lot of people using chainsaws who should not be using chainsaws. People overestimate their skill level. Homework for you, I want you to consider going online tonight and looking up Stop the Bleed. There's a little video. Watch that video. You don't need it until you need it. Other things. You're not the police, okay? If you see someone stealing copper wire or something, don't stand out there, I'm gonna video you. No, don't do that. If you feel a need to video someone, step behind a tree or something, please. Yeah, and as far as Narcan, please consider getting that. We used it on Friday night, and so, yeah, it's serious.
What area?
It was North City. Well, actually, that was Central West End.
Thank you.
Yeah, but it's everywhere. It doesn't matter. It's on the interstate, everywhere. So please consider
That's
it.
why I carry it.
Yeah, I carry it too. So, yeah, and that's it.
And talk to Perry if you want any kind of first aid training. If he can't do it or doesn't want to do it or he's too busy, he'll hook you up. And if you do want more information, more detailed information, you want to hear from the professionals instead of just me, we do offer the Team Leader Academy. It is the last Saturday in February. And then we're also next year going to be doing one for Big Rivers, Big Water on the Living Lands and Waters barge when it comes to St. Louis. I don't know the date for that one, and hopefully we will get to go out with them to do a cleanup. But this is something. Also, if you have a group and you would like me to come talk to them rapid fire for an hour, let me know. You've got my email. Contact me. We'll be happy to do that. My schedule is cleared for the next couple of weeks. I'm, free and available, and we will be trying to set up some more of these in the next couple of days. I think we're going to center up at Beyond Housing. Not 100% sure of that. I'll get those listed as soon as possible, because the more people who know about this stuff, the safer we're all going to be. Thank you for being here. Be safe out there.
Thank you.